Hey guys, welcome back to the Late Late Show. I'm your host Matt from Lakers UK. We're back to normal with this episode here with Jonathan Kirby and Cole Pollard, which isn't happening. Both part of Lakers UK. How are you both doing, lads?
All good, all good. Another day being Lakers champions. So yeah, all good.
Yeah, I'm great. Happy to be back after a week off after Harrison came on last week.
Yeah, definitely. And with that, I would like to just say to everyone that, a huge thank you to everyone that checked out the last episode of the Late Late Show with Harrison Fagan of Silver Screen and Roll. It smashed viewing records for us. It was absolutely huge, and we're all really delighted with how the episode went. If you are a regular viewer, we really appreciate you coming back. But if you are new, welcome to the Lakers UK podcast, the Late Late Show. It's pretty much Lakers talk with just some funny accents, to be honest. But no, we try and bring off a little bit of a different spin. We do get a little bit of praise from the content that we provide. We try and get some cool guests in for you all. We try and mix it up, really. We try not to be like a regular podcast. So yeah, if you're returning, welcome back. If not, let's strap in and get on with this episode. As you can see, we've got the champions hats. Cole's got his. I don't know where.
Really?
Where you are, but yeah, on that side. Cole's got his. I've got mine. Not really a big fan of these kind of big, what they call snapback hats, aren't they?
Yeah.
Not really a big fan of these type of hats. I'm more of a baseball cap type of guy, so I'm going to take mine off. But I did get it kind of as a collector type of thing. So it is sick to have it. And I've also got a T-shirt as well. I'm repping the Champions T-shirt, which came today, which I'm really happy about. To the guys on Instagram Live, kind of give you a little bit of a show.
And I'm repping Lakers UK.
Cool. Yeah, Lakers UK.
Lakers T-shirt.
Yeah, Cole, to the guys that might be listening on the pod a bit later, he's got a Jobs Finished T-shirt, which looks really sick. It's got like the championship in the background, 1920 on it. Where did you get that from?
It's somewhere on Twitter. I was going to check, but I can't remember now.
Yeah,
I found it somewhere on Twitter.
Yeah, it looks really sweet. Also, to everyone that is watching live, not you guys on Instagram, but to the guys watching on Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube, this is a little bit of a new format. Let us know what you think. It kind of gets us all in equally on the screen. I kind of like it. I kind of didn't at first. That's why we've never really gone with this method. Do let us know what you think. Kind of drop a comment now, or just let us know, even at a later date, what you think about this. Anyway, let's jump straight in, because you're probably getting a bit fed up of hearing me talk about nothing. So, as you can see, if you're watching live, we're doing a Lakers off-season preview, as the banner states. But just quickly, before we do start, there's been a little bit of news about the 2020-2021 season start. So there was a whole host of tweets a couple of days ago on October the 23rd. Shams Charania was saying that the NBA is targeting December the 22nd as a start date for the season, 72-game campaign that finishes before the 2021 Olympics. It says that the NBA and the Players Association have been in discussions about a December 22nd proposal. It's been important for teams and players to get back on a normal schedule. It'll allow players to receive their summers. Dialogue will continue. Obviously, nothing is confirmed, but then Shams did add on that starting at December the 22nd versus starting at a later date, more than $500 million can be made in revenue. So obviously money is a big part of it. And then Woj came in with a flurry of tweets as well. And he said that pretty much kind of like confirmed kind of what Shams was saying, but he was saying in and around Christmas, 70 to 72 game regular season and a play-in tournament, he did also mention. But he said that the NBA and the Board of Governors continued discussions on a call on October the 23rd about playing something resembling more of a baseball series to limit travel outside of the bubble of a bubble. For example, a team might travel to New York and play its 2 road games against the Knicks and 1 versus the Nets. I imagine for the teams that are kind of all they're a bit isolated. I imagine we might potentially be seeing teams play against the same teams 2 or 3 times in a row, potentially. So it's going to be quite interesting. I think we're going to get more details as it kind of goes on and time kind of goes on. December is very, very soon as well in the grand scheme of things. So that is going to come around really fast. Just quickly, before we do move on to the off-season preview, I did want to bring this up, but what do you guys think of this? I'll start with you, Jonathan, seeing that you're in the middle of the screen. What do you think about like the flurry of tweets that we got a couple of days ago?
Yeah, I think it makes most sense, because if they started in January, it really wouldn't be a kind of like a 2020, 2021 season, because it would have just simply begun in 2021. So it would have thrown off the balance of kind of the NBA's dynamic. It could be something as simple as that. But yeah, they want to get back to business. They want to kind of accrue any money they've missed out on over the last couple of months with no fans being in the arenas. But yeah, completely right move by NBA. Bit of a short amount of time for the players to have a turnaround. But then again, they did have a decent layoff during kind of the main part of the pandemic. So yeah, not surprised, and pretty decent move for all involved.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, it took me by surprise quite a bit, actually, because obviously you kind of expected something a bit later, or I definitely did. But obviously I think TV ratings playing at this time of year or a month ago kind of scared the league quite a lot, and they do not want the playoffs playing at this time of year again. So I think that was a heavy influencer in the decision at the end of the day. And that, as also, you could find yourself waiting until March to try and get fans in stands, and then still not be able to get fans in stands, so there was no point waiting. So I think they've made the right decision.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's going to be interesting how it all unfolds, and obviously nothing's confirmed, so we could kind of see a little bit more added on to these tweets that we all of a sudden got out of nowhere. I think in terms of fans returning, we don't know when fans are going to return. We don't know when kind of normal life is going to resume, to be honest with you. It doesn't seem like it's going to be anytime soon. So whilst that is on hold, I imagine there's no chance of fans getting into arenas, especially with them being so tight-knit. I think baseball have started to see limited fans coming back. I'm over in Paris at the moment, and PSG here have seen limited fans coming back, but you're talking about 50, 60,000 seat stadiums, so it's a lot easier to do it within stadiums like that. So yeah, I think it's very much going to be behind closed doors. I think December, I'm pretty much happy with that. We just get the season started as soon as possible. And kind of get onto a regular schedule, because the later it starts, the later it finishes. We might get a more condensed season. Just try and get anything to a normal season as we can get. We're going to move on to a bit of an off-season preview now. I do quickly want to mention that on October the 20th, about 5 days ago, the Lakers requested a career-ending injury application to have Luol Deng's salary moved from the team books. Deng agreed to buy out with the Lakers in 2018, retired last October, but is still owed salary through to 2022. That's $5 million a year, which is quite depressing reading that. But hopefully the Lakers pull that off. It'll open up some funds to kind of hit free agency or retain some of the talent they've got, whatever. Might not happen, though. It's not guaranteed. But as we move into this, I was going to say summer, but it's not summer at all, into this off season, it's quite a fluid situation, to be honest with you. So we know that LeBron's on the books, obviously. AD has a player option that he's opting out of, and it looks like he's going to re-sign. Danny Green has his contract just continues. KCP has opted out. We spoke about that on a previous pod, obviously to get a better deal. Luol Deng, obviously the $5 million cap hit. Avery Bradley has a player option. We don't know what's happening there. JaVale McGee has a player option. We don't know what's happening there either. Quinn Cook has his second year. He just flows into his second year, as does Alex Caruso. Jared Dudley's out of contract. Dwight Howard's out of contract. Rondo has a player option that he's opting out of, obviously in hopes of getting a better deal. We'll wait and see how that goes. But we spoke about that on a previous podcast too, so we won't bring that up today. Markieff Morris is out of contract. Kuzma has a second year, his final year of his contract. Horton Tucker, it goes into his second year. goes into another year of his contract. Dion Waiters, J.R. Smith is out of contract. So what we're going to do is I'm going to get the other guys into it because I've already spoken way too much. So we're going to bring in the player options and we're going to speak about Avery Bradley and JaVale McGee first. Off air, obviously, as we prepared for this podcast, I kind of assigned, well, I didn't assign the players out. I kind of just put them out there and let Cole and Jonathan pick who they wanted to speak about. So we'll start with Avery Bradley, who has a player option for just over $5 million for next season. And we don't know what he's doing as of yet. So I'll bring Cole into this with Avery Bradley. But what do you think about his situation and moving forward into this offseason?
So currently, obviously, sat out the bubble and the whole restart, and obviously he missed out on the championship in that situation as well. And all signs kind of point towards Bradley wanting to accept his player option to stay with the team and try again next year, obviously. And that would be brilliant for the Lakers as it stands, to be honest, because he's obviously our best perimeter defender by far. We really missed out on him in the bubble, to be honest. There were several times where I and several other Laker fans were thinking, we could really do with Avery Bradley right now to check Dame Lillard or to check James Harden. During the season, he played 49 games and averaged 8.6 points per game. Plus, he also averaged a steal a game. So it's just clear that he is really valuable to this team, and he could be a big part of just keeping some sort of cohesion amongst the team as well, depending on how it splits at the end of the day. He could be a massive part of just a single piece that might stay with us.
Yeah, I think the importance of continuity in this team is very vital, especially moving into a team that is looking to go back to back. I think Avery Bradley on that deal is a steal, to be honest with you. And having not been in the bubble, I think a lot of people might have, well, not a lot of people, but a lot of people within the industry will kind of have forgotten about him. So I think $5 million for one of the league's better perimeter defenders, I think is an absolute steal. But on the other hand, I don't think he'll hit free agency to try and get something better. So I think he'll kind of come back and be it'll be like a new signing, won't he? Yeah. And we move on to JaVale McGee, who has a player option of $4.2 million for next season. We don't know what he's doing, but I imagine probably opt into that. Jonathan will bring in this discussion, which I be quite entertaining. There's quite a few outcomes for JaVale moving forward.
Yeah, but JaVale, there's no way he doesn't take that $4.2 million. The thing is, it's really been a tale of two takes for JaVale. He's incredibly reliable during the regular season, but just second hit the playoffs, either his head went, his consistency went, or his concentration went. Something disappeared, and he was just, in most of the series, he was pretty much a non-factor. But to be fair, his minutes throughout the season weren't particularly strong either. He's averaging about 16.6 minutes per season during the season, and that kind of fell off the face of the earth during the playoffs. I think he is 9 minutes a game. So he is. Yeah, I think they just lost all confidence in him. I think he began to lose confidence in himself. But yeah, JaVale is a great regular season player for us because he can start, he can come off the bench, he can not play, and you won't have any complaints out of JaVale. JaVale's going to play his role, do it to the best of his ability, and does so knowing that he's on a championship caliber roster, and that if he keeps his mouth shut, does his job, there's a good chance he wins a ring. And this season was absolute proof of that. I think most of us spoke throughout the season that we were wondering why Dwight Howard wasn't starting. Well, they're just comfortable with what JaVale was doing. But JaVale kind of shot himself in the foot this playoff run. He really didn't do himself any favors. Just run through the stats here. And for the season, he was 6.6 points, 5.7 rebounds, and 1.4 blocks. Shooting 64% from the field with a true shooting percentage of 65.2, plus minus 1.9. but that fell off the face of the earth a bit in the playoffs. He dropped to his plus minus dropped to 1.2. His true shooting percentage dropped to 62.3. He was really non-factor against Jokic, they weren't going to risk him against the likes of Bam Adebayo against the Miami Heat. But yeah, he has his player option. I think the Lakers, if they had the choice, would hope that JaVale doesn't opt in, that he'd probably opt out of his contract to save them a bit more money. But JaVale's not stupid. He's not. If he gets let go by the Lakers, there's a very good chance he gets probably the veteran minimum to go to another team. He's an NBA caliber player, and he should be on a roster. But he did himself no favors this offseason. And if I'm JaVale, I take my option. And if the Lakers are smart, they try and package him with someone else and get rid of that contract and see if they can bring in someone else that might be able to help. Because if Boogie Cousins comes in and potentially Howard stays, he's at the back of the bench. So he'll have to make the decision for himself. But my guess is he holds on to his $4.2 million, because I would as well.
Yeah, I think it's quite unfortunate with JaVale. There's nothing against him. I mean, if someone turned around and said to me, we're going to run it back with JaVale and Howard next season, I wouldn't be mad at all. I would take that 100%. That's a very, very good center rotation, especially with the option of AD going over to the 5. But I just think when you bring DeMarcus Cousins into that, which he's been in the conversation for a very long time, we just don't need 3 centers of that caliber, especially if DeMarcus Cousins will probably dominate the majority of their minutes if he is healthy. And I'll speak about him a little bit later, but I've spoke to these guys about this. I think Devontae Caycock on his 2-way deal should be utilized much more than he was this season. He barely saw any playing time. And I think he can come in as that third string player instead of having a $4.2 million JaVale McGee doing it. I think JaVale is a fantastic player. I think in terms of a high energy, low usage player, I think he's absolutely brilliant at that. I just think that there's a lot of contracts. I didn't say it, but there's a lot of contracts that are going up. So obviously LeBron's 37 million turns to 39 million. Anthony Davis will obviously see a bump. Danny Green's 14.6 turns into 15.3. Kentavious Caldwell-Pope will probably get what he gets. JaVale's 4 is now 4.2. Avery Bradley's 4.7 is now 5. Kuzma's contract pretty much doubles. So a lot of money is being eaten up with just the players that we've already got, just getting a pay rise, really. So I think, I don't see too much of a place back for JaVale. I think he could be trade bait, like you said. But we'll just wait and see. It's not high up on my priorities, to be honest.
I'd like to see the 4.2 million that he got for this season to go towards keeping Dwight. Like if DeMarcus Cousins, Dwight Howard center pairing would be amazing. That's just 2 former All-Stars at the position. Yeah, that'd be ideal. But yeah, hopefully. It sounds bad. But to a certain extent, hopefully JaVale either doesn't take his player option once longer term in terms of years, which he won't, or the Lakers find a trade that suits them and they trade him. But yeah, I don't see JaVale being in a Lakers uniform this season. If he does, it's not ideal, but he's still a great rotational piece.
Yeah, and as we move on, let's go into a few of the free agents that are kind of on the roster. Obviously, well, not free agents. I totally lost my head there. Obviously, Dwight Howard and God, I've lost my head again. They were the player options that we were talking about, Avery Bradley and JaVale McGee. Now we're going to get into some of the free agents. Obviously, we've got Dwight Howard and Markieff Morris that are going to come into this next segment. So we're going to get into Dwight Howard, seeing that Jonathan has just mentioned his name and he fits very well into this kind of center rotation talk. So let's bring Dwight Howard into it, who was on a veteran minimum deal of $2.5 million. Obviously, the veteran minimum deal, it goes up and down depending on how much experience you have in the NBA. Hence why Dwight got a very good $2.5 million. He's been in the NBA for forever, really. But he's out of contract now. So let's see what happens. There is a bit of interest from Golden State. But let's bring Cole into this to speak about Dwight Howard. What do you think about his situation? Will he come back? Just give us your general thoughts.
So the massive question for Lakers fans when Dwight signed all the way back in June of 2019 or August it will have been of 2019 was what's happening here, what's his idea, how's he gonna represent himself basically. And honestly, he couldn't have done it any better at redeeming himself amongst Lakers fans, even to the point that a couple of days ago Lakers fans went to battle for him against Shaq when Shaq talked down about him. And that's, if you said that to me a year and a half ago, I would have thought you were crazy. So obviously now the natural question turns to whether Dwight has created a market for himself out of that terrible situation that he was in a year and a half ago. And the answer is yes, simply because, as you mentioned, Golden State is one of those suitors that are definitely looking for the Andrew Bogut type player to just play good post defense and set good screens while their star guards just run around and run the show, basically. And Dwight would fit perfectly into that kind of system. Whether he chooses to go there or stay with us is the question at the end of the day. Neither team has the cap space to sign him above the vets minimum. So without trades happening, obviously, I don't think the Lakers will want to spend more than the vets minimum to sign him back if they can help it, obviously. And I think the advantage is with the Lakers at the end of the day, with him already having won a championship with us. And then also, I think he just really loves being loved by Lakers fans. He wanted that opportunity to just be loved by a fan base again. And that's what he's found in LA. And I just really can't see him looking elsewhere and thinking that he can find a better situation than where he's at now. He's just won a championship. He's playing with 2 All-Stars, one of the best players of all time, a top 5 player in the league, and he's got a chance to repeat in a beautiful city in LA with fans that now love him. So I could honestly see him re-signing, and I can't see him playing for a different franchise other than the Lakers beyond this point, if he's happy to play for the money that we're happy to keep him for.
Yeah, I think so. I think it all depends on whether he gets a bit greedy or not, to be honest with you. I mean, I'm not sure like greedy is the right terminology really, because these players deserve the money that, they get. Their careers are very short. Obviously, there's a lot of debate on how much money they should get, but I mean, we're talking about the lower end of the market here. So I think if Dwight wants to go and get a $4 million contract or something, you really can't fault him for going out and trying to get as much money as possible, especially so late in his career. But his career was pretty much a car crash before he came to the Lakers. Before we signed him and when the Lakers did sign him, there was a lot of doubt whether he would be effective at all, to be honest. And it was a redemption season. It was a fantastic turnaround for him. I think he would be a bit silly to go elsewhere. I think at this stage of his career, he's pretty much settled for the first time in a long time. He's got the chance to run it back. If he gets 2 rings next to his name, I think he is a Hall of Famer, but that really does bump him up. I think he'll run it back, probably a vet minimum. I think he'll be pretty happy with that as well, to be honest with you. So as we move on, we go on to Markieff Morris, and it's Jonathan that's got Markieff Morris.
Yeah, Markieff, when I was speaking about JaVale, it was very much tale of 2 takes of very good, well, decent in the regular season and terrible in the playoffs. It's kind of the other way around for Markieff. He had a pretty lackluster. I suppose he's only had 14 games for the Lakers in the regular season, and he wasn't terrific. He had 5.3 points, 3.2 rebounds. His plus minus is minus 2.2. His true shooting percentage was 51. But then he kind of flipped the script in the playoffs completely and was like, he was 42% from 3.9, 44.9 from the field, and had a plus minus of 2.8, which is like a massive, massive jump. And the thing is, he offered us exactly what we needed. Obviously, AD has kind of made it very, very clear that he wants his time to be spent in the power forward position. And that's absolutely fine. Like, he doesn't want to be banging with the likes of Jokic and kind of Joel Embiid throughout the season, grind himself down, get himself injured. He wants kind of a bit more of an easier time, which is absolutely fine. He's talented enough, whereas he can play both positions and play them at a ridiculously high level. But when push came to shove in the playoffs, the Lakers needed AD to step up to the 5 position, and then they needed someone who can stretch the floor consistently and kind of give AD a bit more breathing room in the paint. And Markieff was able to do that absolutely to like a T. Like his minutes weren't exponentially higher than the regular season. He went from 14.2 in 14 games to 18.4 minutes per game. And points he's scoring were virtually identical. But the thing he did offer was just he was a consistent three-point shooter who was going to demand respect from the opposing teams, some of their best perimeter players, meaning that AD was just going to cook inside, and he did the entirety of the series. Like, it going forward, I think really more important than bringing back Dwight Howard would be to bring back Markieff Morris.
Yeah,
he just offers way more versatility. Dwight has that toughness, but so does Markieff, where you can kind of bang the bigs, you can kind of get in their faces and do all the nitty gritty stuff. And if, say for example, if Kuz gets traded, which they're supposedly Lakers have been fielding calls from different teams about Kuz, he can fill in with some power forward minutes as well as at the center position. So yeah, for me, Markieff is unquestionably someone who should be like top of the lists. I think him and KCP should be 1 and 2, Rondo 3rd, and maybe Dwight 4th. But yeah, he's absolutely someone that Lakers should be looking to keep long term, but hopefully at like a team friendly deal. I don't for the moment until Giannis signs back with the Bucks. That's a 1-year deal. Offer him a good 1-year deal, but 1-year deal for the moment.
Yeah, I think it's quite important to bring in here that the Lakers have a 3.6 million biannual exception and a 9.3 million mid-level exception. They don't have to spend all that money at once on one player. They can spread that out into multiple players, but I wouldn't be mad if that 3.6 was used to bring back Markieff. Again, he's a fantastic player. A few years ago, he was really up there. Well known throughout the league, but again, he's kind of struggled and bounced around a lot of teams over the past few years. So I think winning a ring, kind of finding a little bit of a home, kind of adding the versatility that he adds, his brother being on the other side of the hall at the Clippers, I think it's definitely a reason for him to run it back, you would think. But he is relatively young as well. Obviously, he's not a young player, but he's certainly not at the end of his career. So if he does get a nice paycheck, you really don't blame him there. So yeah, I think he should be one of our priorities. I think KCP and then Markieff for me. I think the versatility he adds is so important. We're going to just quickly break off here and get a few adverts in. Support for the Late Late Show is brought to you by Manscaped, who is the best in men's below the waist grooming. Manscaped offers precision engineered tools for your family jewels. They just launched in the UK at the start of the year. You can be one of the first men over here to experience our life-changing products. Personally, with grooming products myself, I usually bounce around and find it quite difficult to find the right product that you can stick with long term. It can be quite frustrating. But the new and improved Lawnmower 3.0 is perfect for the job. You really don't need anything else. It's a 3rd generation trimmer that features cutting edge ceramic blade to reduce grooming accidents. Obviously very important. It's got a 7,000 RPM motor with quiet stroke technology. The battery will last up to 90 minutes. And the waterproof technology allows for use in the shower. And it's even got an LED light so you can see where you're going. It really is a top quality product. You don't really need to go elsewhere. Like I said, I have one myself, not with me at the moment, but I do have one. Here on the Late Late Show, we can offer you a unique promo code. You can get 20% off plus free shipping with the code LakersUK20 at manscaped.com. That's the code LakersUK20 at checkout for 20% off plus free shipping over at manscaped.com. Jump on that. Don't let your balls waste away in free agency. Secure that max contract with Manscaped. You won't regret it. Also as well, we're all repping the championship merch like we said at the start. We've got the cap here. Cole's wearing the cap. I'm wearing the t-shirt, the official t-shirt. I've got some more on the way as well. I'm sure we all have.
Mine's just on the way, just so people know.
Yeah, Jonathan will have his very soon, but we've got a discount code with NBA Story U, which is jump on that as well. Head over to www.lakersuk.com/partners and select the relevant link. It will direct you to the store where you can use the promo code LakersUK10 for 10% off your order. It can also be used on already discounted items as well. So even if you don't want the championship merch or you've already got it, but maybe you want a little bit more to fill your Lakers wardrobe up or a new jersey, it can be used on that as well. So do jump on that. That's LakersUK.com/partners. Select the relevant link. Go to checkout LakersUK10. That's the promo code. It'll get you 10% off your order. Also as well, just to throw in, Jonathan, do you want to model this? We've got the Lakers UK hoodies, and he's got a t-shirt underneath as well. Go over to Twitter and look at our there we go, there's a t-shirt. Go over to Twitter and look at our pinned post. You can go and buy some Lakers UK merch. There also is a promo code there. If you put in NBA champs at checkout, it's 25% off. So that's a very good deal. So jump on that as well. Anyway, that's enough of that. So let's jump straight back in. So as we continue going through the offseason, two more free agents kind of on the lower end of the bench. We've got a Dion Waiters and Jared Dudley. Cole's got Dion Waiters, so similar format to like before. Let us know what you think about Dion Waiters, kind of what his situation is. He is out of contract this summer. Did only sign for not just for the bubble, he was before, but we kind of only saw him in the bubble for quite a limited amount of time, really.
So, Dion signed, obviously, the minimum mid-season back in March, just before the shutdown. So we didn't see him play any kind of Lakers basketball prior to the bubble. All the basketball was played within the bubble for us. And he averaged 12 points per game on 24 minutes per game in 7 regular season games. And he looked really useful to us in them regular season games. And we thought he may have a spot in the playoff rotation as we headed into the playoffs. But it ended up that he only played 5 games in the playoffs. He never managed to break into that rotation. What's he rank?
Jonathan wrote bubble cheese for anyone that's...
Yeah. Well, yeah.
Champion cheese
knows that I'm a massive fan of bubble cheese and Dion Waiters.
Champion cheese.
Yeah.
Champion.
But yeah, he never managed to break into the rotation for the playoffs. Well, luckily, I bought a t-shirt, a bubble cheese t-shirt before the playoffs, so I invested heavily in stock of bubble cheese. But that's a memory now. But I can't see a team offering him any more than the minimum to play, because I don't really think he proved that much, to be honest. Obviously, he played brilliantly in the 7 games prior to the playoffs, but how much meaning can you put in that? Because at the end of the day, them games really didn't mean to anything to us. We've heard players like Jared Dudley say they were just running the motions at that point. So I can't see a team offering him more than the minimum unless he can find a way to go abroad. But obviously with the current situation, that doesn't look likely either. So it could be a situation where he just stays with the Lakers on the minimum, to be honest, and just is a deep bench player. I can't see him. He might be a deep rotation player as well, obviously, but just a useful player to bring off the bench and score and handle the ball a bit more when you need that type of player in the game.
Yeah, I'm quite. I'm not sure high is the right word on Dion Waiters, but I think he could be really useful. I have been saying to you guys off air, and I was saying to Jonathan on a call a couple of days ago that I think him coming back would be very, very useful. Whether it's a vet minimum deal, whether it's kind of a low end contract, couple of million, I would probably bring him back. If he stays healthy, he's seen the potential for him to be a flamethrower off the bench. He can create as well, not for just himself in terms of his own shot, but we can see him kind of facilitating for others as well from time to time. So I think if he's fit throughout an entire regular season, I think he could be very interesting. I know he didn't fit well in the playoffs, but I do probably see a little bit of a place for Dion Waiters. Depends where his head's at, what the terms of the contract would be. But if it's a low end contract, I think I probably would bring him back just for that scoring off the bench. But saying that, it could be quite a late acquisition in free agency, kind of see how how the rest of the market turns out, really. But I'm not really too sure who else would want to take him on, to be honest with you. I don't think he proved too much with the Lakers, but I think he proved enough to us as fans of the Lakers and potentially the front office that he can do some sort of job. So it'll be interesting where he lies moving forward. And as we come on to Jared Dudley, who's the last of our end of the bench players that is falling out of contract. Jonathan, what do you think of Jared Dudley?
Jared Dudley he's a funny. So I went into his stats for the year, and they're not great. They're not great stats. He averaged 1.5 points, 1.2 rebounds, 0.6 assists. His plus minus was 0.4, which is good. It was a plus.
What was his 3-point shooting?
His 3-point shooting, actually, I think he took 1 3. Actually, no, sorry. His 3-point shooting is 42.9. So
3-point special.
Danny Green. Danny Green. Bring him back.
Yeah,
he's coming back.
But his minutes were 8.1 minutes per game, which is mainly in garbage time, barely used in the playoffs. But the one thing about Jared Dudley, every team needs a guy like Jared Dudley on their team. Everyone needs that kind of glue guy who just helps form team chemistry, who's able to talk to the superstar players and kind of he's a veteran, so he can kind of bust LeBron's balls and just say, like, no, LeBron, I think you're wrong doing this. He has enough experience within the league and enough smart and enough respect where he can talk to players like that. And then he can kind of talk on behalf of some of the role players if they feel that maybe LeBron's getting too many touches or AD's getting too many touches. And the one thing he did, and he made this very quite clear on the podcast with Bill Simmons, he was part of that brain trust with like LeBron and AD and Rondo, where they all broke down video together and had chats about how different ways they can break down the other teams in the playoffs. And if you look at Dudley, he has all the makings of like a really good coach going forward in the NBA. I think the Lakers will probably keep him going into next season. I think if Dudley had the choice, he'd make sure he was a Laker next season. I think the Lakers need a player like that on the team. And yeah, I think Duds is going to be back. A very strong thing. He's going to be back. But one thing that I'm worried about. I'm sorry to cut you off. Is there's someone like Matt was saying, like Devontae Kaycock available there, and like I know probably the Lakers will hope to keep him on a 2-way deal going forward. Well, if another team comes in trying to take Devontae, I would kind of let Dudley go, or kind of even Kaycock can play center position as well. But yeah, if push came to shove, I'd choose Kaycock. But Dudley is definitely someone, if we can, and if it's available.
Yeah, I think he said on the Bill Simmons podcast that he would literally knock on Rob Pelinka's door as soon as free agency opened to come back. And I think reading his stats, I think, is a bit unfair on his impact on the team. Yeah. I think he is clearly well liked throughout the league, and in that locker room, I think it's fair to say that he's pretty much adored with the rest of the players, and he really is right up there. I don't think he's that important in terms of his talent, but I think in terms of being a glue guy, in terms of a chemistry guy, I think he's pivotal. And I think if there's a space for him on the roster, you only need one or two of them. Probably one that doesn't really play at all. That's what like Udonis Haslem was like for Miami Heat this season. Well, has been for quite a few seasons now. And I think they're very underrated. They're very important. But Dudley can come in and do a little bit of a job. He can hit a few shots. He can play some defense. He can take a technical foul if he needs to. I would bring him back on a minimum deal. I don't think there's really much to go into with that, to be honest with you. I mean, going into a little bit more, I've got the assignment myself of the 2-way players. So for people that don't know, I also run a G League website called NBA Call-Ups. It's been a little bit on standstill at the moment whilst it's been the finals and the playoffs, but it's going to be back up and running soon. So a little bit of information for everyone there, because Jonathan was speaking about Kaycock and someone swooping in to get Kaycock. No one can swoop in and get Kaycock at the moment. He's on a 2-year 2-way deal. So he's locked up at the moment. Beyond that, is anyone's guess. If the Lakers release him out of that two-way contract, he's available for whoever. I think with Taylor Horton Tucker being on a regular contract and him not needing development, but the development will just naturally come with him, and I think all eyes will be on him. There's potentially a draft pick coming in as well. Will that get traded? I don't know. But I think Devontae Caycock, he won't like to hear this, and sorry if he's listening, I don't think he is, but we do have a connection with him here at Lakers UK, but I think him on a two-way deal is probably the right way for the Lakers to be at the moment, but utilize that two-way deal. Don't let him sit. We just lost Cole there for some reason, but we'll keep going. There's no reason for him to not be called up for the majority of them 45 days that he can be called up with his parent team. He can very much play off within that center rotation. We did mention that you've got DeMarcus Cousins, you've got Dwight Howard. Devontae Caycock would be a very good backup, third string backup to them players. Even if it's McGee and Howard, Devontae Caycock would be a very good backup to them players. He is very Montrezl Harrell-like. He was in the, pardon me, I haven't got the stats in front of me, but he was in the all-rookie team in the G League this season. I believe he was in the defensive team. He was very close to Rookie of the Year. He got numerous awards in the G League. His statistics were ridiculous. In about 25 minutes per game, they were completely off the charts, double-doubles every single game. So I think, he could do with. I think he will sit on that two-way deal, not him, but I think the Lakers will sit on that. I think it's just because of Taylor Horton Tucker. I just don't think we're in a stage to be developing young players at the moment. Kostas Antetokounmpo is the other two-way player. He is not signed up for the season ahead. He is not on a 2-year, two-way deal. I imagine he will come back. He is still eligible for one more year to be a two-way player. Players that have up to 4 years service can be a two-way player. Called up to the NBA for 45 days at a time. Not at the time, but throughout the season. He is in the last year of that eligibility. Going up to Giannis, his free agency in 2021, we need to have Kostas on the books, so he will fill that second two-way slot. I don't know that for sure. I haven't been told that, even though we do have some fans at the South Bay Lakers, but I'm just telling you now off the top of my head, the guys will agree with me here. He will fill that other two-way slot. Yeah. We need him on the books for Giannis in free agency. He's a good player. He's a very good player. I don't know what his ceiling is, but he is obviously useful in that regard.
It's like an uncoordinated Giannis.
Yeah. Stop stealing my thunder. I've said that so many times, and now he's taking it for real.
Yeah, we have a little bit.
I can't believe it.
We say that he's like pretty much Giannis.
Yeah, he's pretty much Giannis without any kind of skill set whatsoever. Just physically, he's got the potential to be a monster defender at the end of the day. If nothing else.
He did very well in the G League, but he's playing like center in the G League. I don't think there's really positions in the G League, to be honest with you. But we'll kind of see how his development goes. And that's pretty much rounded it up, really. There was another topic that we wanted to bring up, but I think we'll leave that for the next episode. I don't see the point in kind of going beyond what we need to kind of get in, and I think we're at a decent time at the moment. So yeah, we'll kind of like round it up there. Anything you guys want to get in off the back of what we've just spoken about, or have we pretty much covered? We've covered every single player that's got a player option and is in free agency now on the Lakers.
Yeah, I'd say. Go ahead, Cole. Sorry.
I was just going to say, yeah. I mean, at the end of the day, I can't see that many players moving because I can't see that many teams actually wanting to offer money in the current situation of uncertainty at the minute. I can't see that many teams gambling on a player that's at the lower end of a roster to give him a bit more because they don't know where the cap's going to be. Excuse me. They don't know where the cap's going to be in the next year or so, couple years. So I think ideally for us, obviously, and probably a couple other teams, you see minimal movement throughout this offseason because I don't think teams are going to gamble on giving a player a bit more money to just get hold of them.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. And it's not a stacked free agency class as well. So
No.
it'll be interesting. I think we've already spoke about them, but KCP and Rondo, well, I think will be quite hot prospects in this free agency, especially in terms of the value of their current contracts and giving them a little bit more. Jonathan, do you want to say anything before we head out?
Yeah, I think we were talking about bubble cheese there. I think if the Lakers do move on from Danny Green, there's a very good chance he stays in the roster. But Dion Waiters is used to a certain extent because I think the Lakers will try and get their starting point guard for next season via trade. I don't think they're going to look in free agency. They might land someone like Jeff Teague, or they might come back around and look at Darren Collison. But yeah, I think there's a good chance Danny Green and maybe Kuz are going to be moved on for a starting point guard. If that becomes the case, I wouldn't mind seeing Dion Waiters come off the bench.
Yeah, definitely. And just before we head out, a few comments here. We've got Manny Late Show 96. Let's go Lakers. Yeah, repping all the championship gear we are. We've got who's this again?
It's Massimo.
Massimo, yeah, it is Massimo. The name gets me every time. He misses John's hat. Would be great to see all three of them wearing the champions hats. Jonathan's will come. You will see that very soon. Jonathan's constructed a trade package for Russ.
Yes.
Are you listening, Rob?
Yes.
That's in regards to Russell Westbrook. We're not going to get into that next.
You want to know about that? It's in the last episode.
Cigaraholic on Twitter has said, great seeing Laker fans in the UK. Thank you very much. It's great being here. The Lakers, and thanks for checking it out. There is quite a lot of us here in the group chat. But yeah, thanks for checking it out. On YouTube, we've got someone called Park Carr said that they would let Dudley go. So that's their opinion on Jared Dudley. Be interesting either way. Right, let's get out of here. Thanks, guys, for jumping on the Late Show again. Really do appreciate it. It was a pleasure, as always. I hope you enjoyed it. People should know by now, but before we head off, do you want to give your socials a shout out? We'll start with you, Jonathan.
Yeah, it's Jonathan K NBA, JONATHAN K NBA. And Cole's not going to spell his one.
No, I spell it. Yeah, mine's at Cole Pollard NBA on Twitter. Yeah, I'm not going to spell it.
Yeah, both on Twitter. Jonathan's was on Twitter as well. Yeah, thanks for jumping on, guys. Let's do the outro. And cheers for listening, everyone. We will catch you next time. Plenty of topics coming in this off season, plenty of content coming in this off season. It's just the start. If you just actually quickly before we head out, I nearly forgot. Huge thanks to our Patreon members: Amandeep, Fardi, both Jonathans, Benjamin, Massimo, Cole, Adam, Phil, and Steve. Your support is much appreciated. If you're interested in supporting us whilst unlocking the full Lakers UK community plus perks, visit www.patreon.com/LA Lakers UK. If you enjoyed the show, be sure to tell some of your Laker friends about it. You can find the Late Show on all major podcast platforms. Please follow, like, share where possible, and leave a review. Be sure to follow Lakers UK over on Twitter and Instagram under LA Lakers UK. We've got some very good traffic over there at the moment, so thank you to everyone that is checking out them socials. Also, check out our website, lakersuk.com. We'll catch you next time.